We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, I will introduce my guest and the topic. Welcome back to the show. Well, as I said, I was going to introduce my guest, but before I do, let me introduce the topic. Now, this is a topic that's on everybody's mind, everybody's lips. It's in the dailies, the newspaper, every forum discussion. It is particularly tagged to Africa, but because we're in Ghana, we're only going to mind our own business today. The subject matter is corruption. However, today we also want to look at it from the accountant's perspective. Because somehow, anytime you hear corruption, it's not very often that you hear of the accountant. There's always the politician, the director, somebody who is not directly an accountant. But funny enough, all the monies go through an accountant. How is it possible that they always escape the net? We would also look into our cultural and social life and how corruption is, and tally it into our traditional life and our, official life. I'll go to introduce my guest. I'll introduce for my further left, and to my furthest left is Mr. George Kwashi. He's an accountant with CCAM Secretariat. George, good evening and welcome to PM Express.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And then to my immediate left is Mrs. Esther Kenyensu of EMAC Consult. Esther, good evening and welcome to PM Express.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. George, I will start with you. But before we go into it, let's just start with what is corruption?
Corruption, as defined by the World Bank, is the misuse of public office for private gain. Misuse of public office for private gain. Now, the gain is attributed to the individual group of people or persons too, so that to that extent is an individual gain. Now, a reference to the dictionary also tells you that corruption is being dishonest, illegal, or immoral thing in order to gain a benefit. So, looking at it from these two perspectives, then you can understand that corruption actually cuts across. In most cases, people attribute it to a specific group of people, but it's actually endemic. So for now, I want to leave it there. As we proceed, definitely a lot of things may come out and I'll expand on it.
Esther, I'll come to you. Individual gain. Now, the first point of money in any institution, organization, community would most probably be an accountant. If it has structures, you'll go to the accountant first. But very rarely would you pick up a newspaper and say that, oh, there's corruption at this industry or that firm, and it was the accountant. It was always the MD or somebody who's not necessarily accountant. So how do you guys escape the net?
Interesting. It just means that some other people are being corrupt. So if you say escape the net, you're assuming that then the accountant has been corrupt, but then it's only that it didn't come out.
That's that the accountant got the money first.
You see, every institution has a system and has controls. Mm-hmm. So the accountant works with the controls. So if the accountant ensures that the controls are working effectively, then of course he's going to escape from the net, which means that he's going to make sure that things are done properly, so that on his side he's not corrupt.
George, if I was a director of a company,
right,
and I came to you and I said, George, you need to, assign, let's say, 5,000 cedis to me. As an accountant, do you just sign it to me or do you ask? Because all too often you hear that, oh, he used the money to buy a car for his girlfriend, or he used the money to buy, a big TV for his room, and that wasn't what the money was meant for. Do you, as the accountant, have any control as to what are you going to use this money for, or do you just have to disperse of the money?
That's right. In fact, that's an interesting question. Basically, when you are in an organization, be it structured or non-structured, where it is structured, let me even start from where it is structured. You have manual of operation. That's where you actually refer certain things to. Then you also have, if you're a company or you are an entity where you have your budget, you also have that to guide you, because a budget is an approved estimate of what you intend spending. Now, when it comes to this issue of payments, definitely documents pertaining to the purchase of that particular item will be accompanied. But then, as an accountant, it is your responsibility to ensure whether first is an approved budget, two, whether it is in the interest. I mean, sometimes, yes, you may not necessarily buy, approval has not been given by the managing director or by a committee that has been set up. But you must also be very sure whether approval has been given for the purchase. If approval has been given and you are convinced that, yes, it is within authorization limit, then you effect the payment. But what usually happens is that sometimes you have domineering managing directors, and that is where the catch is. Mm-hmm. So where you have such people or such persons who are very domineering and want to bulldoze their way through, you as an accountant, you have two options. Either you keep quiet and do it, or with your integrity at stake, you want to say, no, I won't. Then you refer the thing back to him and maybe face the consequences. We are always at loggerheads when it comes to payments. So sometimes those are the challenges as an accountant you end up faced with. But then at the end of the day, if you really stand very firm, then the integrity comes up, and then you inject a little bit of discipline to the system. People will know that it's not everything that they bring up for payment that the accountant will approve of or may let it pass through.
I will come back to one question, but
right.
Esther, the job market out there is very hostile, and I'm sure even good accountants will struggle to get a job in today's market.
Right.
Do you just sign this check and just keep your job and keep your fingers crossed that I stay here and it doesn't ever come back to hit me on my face? Or do you say, you know what, it's against my principles, so I'm walking out? Because that's that point where you have to make the decision as to whether I'm corrupt or not. Is say, I'm standing against my principles and I'm walking out of this job. Or, you know what, it's only 5,000 cedis. It doesn't make anything to the balance. Take it, let me keep my job.
The thing about signing it is that once you sign it once, then it means that every time it's going to come and you have to sign it over and over again. So you have to put your foot down and say, no, I'm not going to sign it. And sometimes you'll be surprised you are not going to sign it. Whoever wanted you to sign it will respect you for it and will come back to you and understand your principles. It's hard, for people to take it. But then when you keep doing it, they respect you for who you are, and they know that you are a professional accountant.
Esther, is that the reality out there? Or this is just in our studio here today?
Let me take it out from
Okay, George.
Maybe put in. Sometimes, yes, you have, where the managing, like I said earlier on, is an overbearing managing director. Definitely he will want to bulldoze his way through. And then at the end of the day, you, the accountant, you compromise. That's where the challenge is. When it happens like that, and it comes to the notice of maybe the board and everything, that's why when it comes to maybe sacking or dismissing, a bunch of them are taken out. The managing director goes, the internal auditor goes. Or sometimes when we are not very sure, in fact, in all systems, there are internal checks and balances. So in most cases, the payment of that transaction, of the payment of that item, does not necessarily take the signature of only the accountant. It comes with maybe the managing director and the accountant as well. So those are the challenges. But for me personally, experiences that I've had over the years tells you that, look, walk out, and you walk out in the streets of Accra with your chest out. You can walk into any other place, and that is the beauty of it. It's difficult, but then what else can you do?
George, let me sidetrack a bit, and if it's not your area, just pull me back and check. It's public procurement.
Yes.
Do you have a general
knowledge? Yes, I do.
Educate me.
Right. I work with Ghana Supply Company for over 14 years, so I do a little bit of procurement.
Thank you.
In fact, it used to be the company that procured government supplies and stores for all MDAs, that's ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, the challenge we had over the years was that by September, October, for the preceding year, letters are written to these ministries to bring their requirements to enable us to buy in bulk. And this bulk is usually supplied to the ministries. Now, when you buy for the ministries, you stock them. You want to supply and payment is to be made.
So that's everything, like papers, pens.
Papers, from stationery through pens. We go on tender actually to procure these things. So documents are prepared. Ghana Supply Commission will go all out to procure all the needed requirements based on the estimate that they have received from these government departments and agencies. Now, as and when the need arises, they come with their stores requisition or their requirements. These things are sent to them, and then we actually effect supply. Based on that, we give our invoices, or we send our invoices with a little bit of margin, because it's a government organization.
Okay.
Now, the challenge we had over the years was that because it's government to government, when it comes to debt collection, it's a problem. They will tell you, oh, government to government, why do I have to pay? Go and look for somebody else to collect them. So at the end of the day, they gradually crippled Ghana Supply Company to the extent that it became very difficult to operate that system. And over the years, it came to a point where then the understanding came that PMUs, that project management units of the various organizations, should be set up. And these are the challenges that we are now faced with. You have Kolebu procuring its own problems. We're procuring for Ghana Water. Now look at the problem they have. We're procuring for electricity company. Look at the I mean, everybody within the system want to take something. So if you have controls without supervision over those controls, that is where the challenge is. Because during those times, and as at now, I know a certain aspect of, I'm no more with Ghana Supply Commission, so I don't know what exactly is going on there. But during those days, we have State Enterprises Commission that actually monitors the movement or the financial operations and the non-financial operations of the company. So every quarter, we are supposed to submit a quarterly report to them. And then upon that basis, they are actually, they assess us whether we are really performing or we are not performing. So procurement has been a source of worry to both private and public organizations, because that is where people do their own things. You'll be surprised. A4 paper that will be sold for maybe 32 Ghana cedis, they will prefer to buy it at 40 Ghana cedis from a private company. Why? Because they know what they will get. If they buy it from us, what will you give to the storekeeper? What will you give to the accountant? What will you give to the internal auditors? Who will benefit from what? So when you go on debt collection, they will tell you, your list is you are number 3 on the list. Tomorrow you come, you are number 15. And it continues like that. So you are frustrated, and those are the challenges that. So for me personally, I think those are the areas that we definitely have to look at.
I'll come back to procurement with you, Joe.
Right.
But Esther, now that raises a good point as an accountant, because sometimes you see a price of, let's say, an air conditioner or a screen or carpet or something, and you wonder, well, who made this? Jesus Christ? Because the price is just way out of, the average market price. And it's a price that you could just go to Google or anywhere just to check the average price. And you see them go through the system every day. Now that is an accounting side, and you're an accounting consultant, so that falls well within your jurisdiction. Why do we see that frequently?
It just means that people want to be corrupt. In the normal procurement, at least you should have maybe 3 companies that are bidding for maybe a particular purchase, so that you can compare prices. So I don't see that you should just go for one price which is so high and just accept it. If you are a professional accountant and you are doing your work well, you find out there are many companies out there that are selling at lower prices. So going through a high price going through the system, and when that gets to whoever internal audits, they should also question it. You know, they should, if internal audit is doing their work well and they've seen a number of invoices coming through, then they'll question it. So
I think the difficulty there is once the deal, the transaction is gone through, it becomes difficult because there's no control price. So it becomes difficult once it's gone through. Or
can I make a little bit input there?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the same company, in fact, most of the times, I mean, when you are talking about procurement, it comes in different forms. There's the formalized one where bids, documents are actually prepared and people, I mean, companies, they are advertised for them to come and bid for the particular product. But when it comes to maybe buying one or two things, yes, that's where the three invoices issue comes in. Now, one company, maybe you are relying on the procurement officer to get the invoices for you or the storekeeper to do that for you as an initial stage. Now, they can bring the three invoices, I can tell you, coming from the same company. Now, when it comes that way, I have had personal experience before. You call, then you realize that it's coming from them. Sometimes you call without identifying yourself, to the extent that the person will say, oh, the price is this. Then you note it. In fact, I've been an accounts manager, and have been an audit manager before. So I know what I'm talking about. I know the tricks. So what I usually do is that when I realize that I put the document down, and I want either the supplier or whoever is in the organization to come forward to say, oh, we brought this document, it hasn't been processed yet. What's the problem? Then I'll tell them that this is what I've realized. So sometimes you even have to go onto the market to determine, because that's part of your responsibility. I mean, you can't just sit down and assume that the price that has been quoted is fair, because we have what we call reasonableness. Is it reasonable? Is the price reasonable? Because paper-wise, yes, but in terms of the price, would you have bought it for yourself at that price? Those are the questions. So you have to think beyond or outside the box to determine the reasonableness of the price.
George, I'll take you back to procurement. Right. If you look at the size of government in Ghana, if there's just one industry going to do shopping for all these guys, I mean, that's a recipe for corruption.
No, like I said, if the system is transparent, I mean, Crown Agent was doing that before Ghana Supply. In fact, Ghana Supply Commission or Ghana Supply Company took over from Crown Agent. Crown Agent was doing everything. Ghana Supply Company was actually procuring for all the ministries. And when I mean all the ministries, education, health, I mean, you just mentioned them. So, yes, centralized procurement has its own advantages and disadvantages. But then, depending on, like my sister said, depending on the individuals involved, that is where the challenge is. If people want to make it tick, they will make it. If they don't, they will still want to do their own thing. Because when we were also there, I won't say that everything was okay. We had instances where people have run into challenges and have moved on from Ghana Supply to private company to non. It's there. People just want to test the system. If the system is weak and porous, they will go ahead. But if they realize that there's somebody there who will say no, they will hold their horses. So these are the challenges. So when you look at it from that big angle, that one organization procure, it is not anything extraordinary. It can be done, and it has been done before, except that maybe with the trained, there's the need for you to break smaller parcels to allow other people to do the procurement.
As a consultant, if I had a firm and I called you, would you rather I looked out on the market and said, look, I need air conditioners and I want somebody to supply them to me at 100 cedis per unit, I want 10? Or would you just say, bring me a tender of how much you can supply 100 air conditioners for? Which is the best method? Because I find the latter being the more like, oh, we need 100 air conditioners and people should supply us, and then they bring you, or the bills of how much I can supply for, rather than the company itself saying, look, air conditioners on the market are X amount of money, and that I want 10 to be supplied at this money.
Well, if you say you want 10 to be supplied at this money, it presupposes that you already know the prices. So it means that you've gone to the market.
Yeah.
So you are telling the company that you just want.
Yeah, it's 10 cedis, and I'll pay you an extra 2 cedis for you to deliver it, just so that I don't go and get it.
Okay, so I mean, in that case, the issue is also quality, because if your 10 cedis is below a certain quality, then you'll be supplied according to that quality. But if you open yourself up and you allow the company to go to the market and source for the prices for you, and just act like an insurance broker, bring you the companies. Yes, these are the companies, these are the prices they are offering. Which one do you want to take? I think that it's better that way. Then you can say, okay, even though I have 10 cedis, if you give me, maybe it's just 11 cedis, I'll go for it.
No, I think that's the lazy option. Because if I wanted, let's say, iPads, and they are 1,500 cedis on the market, but I want 100, so I'm not paying 1,500 cedis for them. I want to pay 1,400 delivered to my house, and I want 100. So who can deliver it? Rather than just sit down and say, yeah, you bring me iPads. Which means that we don't do any research into what's the lowest price we can get this thing for.
No, let me make an input here. When it comes to that, you have what we call the reserve price. You know the price at which you want to buy the item. Now you are going to buy in bulk. So definitely you are even looking at, like she said, quality. And then once you are buying in bulk, and I can assure you, if you are not very careful, people will put in non-functional products. Yes, sometimes they will give you warranty or guarantee for a period. But the essence of the whole procurement process is to, one, to be transparent and to ensure that you are getting value for money. Those are the things that you must be looking at. Price-wise, yes, but price is not necessarily the key, because price may be good, but then after-sales service may not be very good. So at the end of the day, you buy the product, the guy cannot actually service the product. So that becomes a challenge to you. So I would prefer that still you go on tender, the quality the quality product will come from the source that will make you know that, yes, you bought a good quality product. Now, let me tell you one interesting thing. My boss told me where I am that if you buy a product which is defective, you cry all your life through. But if you buy a quality product, you cry only once.
Now, because we are talking about corruption, and we are in Africa, I want to throw this question in, and let's see how I think about it. If I went to see an elder or traditional leader, let's say on Friday, I will go with a bottle of drink, probably my envelope, even if a sheep, if I'm wealthy enough. And my issue with him is that my daughter in a school in the village is being maltreated by the teacher, the headmaster, whatever the issue is I have in his village. He takes the drink, says thank you, and says, yes, Monday, come and see me, and we'll talk about it. So he hands me his cards. So Sunday, you look at the card, and coincidentally, he is the district education officer. So on Monday, you now need to go and see him in his education office. If you came with the same envelope, with the same problem, now it's become corruption. Meanwhile, 2 days ago, you were the best man there is. Do you think that we are living as Ghanaians and ruling as Western? We have a Western laws governing us as Ghanaians, and hence many things that go on might not necessarily be corruption, but be like a gesture of who we are. Esther, let me start with Esther.
Yeah, our African culture, or the way we do things, some of it will be perceived as corruption. The example you gave, it's very normal. If you are going to a chief's house, you can't go empty-handed.
No.
And that is our culture, But then when it comes to corruption, there is motive. Whoever is going there with those items has in mind to negatively influence the person he's talking to. So that's where corruption comes.
George,
but when you are going to the elder's house, you don't have that negative mind. You're just going to greet the elder. So though our traditional system looks like corruption, it's not really corruption, because it's a kind of way we also relate to each other. This is a chief, he's an elderly person, I have to show him respect. That's how we do it. But when it comes to corruption, it's because you want to influence the person sitting there. It's because you want that person to do you a favor.
No, George, but how
That's
do you...
why you carry those items and go
No,
there.
I'll stay with Esther. Esther, how then do you determine my motive? Because if I came to you and I'm still Ghanaian and I'm still an African and I, think that you've done something good for me, gave me a good advice on how to work my books, and so, there's a sheep. Thank you very much. How then do you determine, who determines the motive?
Let me take it from her. Like she said, basically, traditionally we go. I mean, the items need not be anything extraordinary.
No.
Basic. Sometimes it comes with a bottle of Schnapp, 50 Ghana cedis in an envelope, and that is about it. So that is there. Now, even where you are going to, not even necessarily a traditional, maybe your daughter is of age, and maybe the young man is coming with his family, they are coming. Definitely they won't just come and say, oh, we found a flower here, blah, blah, blah. They will come with something that, oh, we've seen this, and then. So that is the traditional aspect of it. But like she's still insistent, when it comes to influencing the other party, you have a motive, you have a reason for bringing along the items. And the items necessarily will have to influence the person. So you even would have gone to other people, say, oh, I want to see this man on this particular issue. How much do you think I should give to him? You understand what I'm coming from. So definitely before you go, you know the amount that you are going to give to the person to influence him to take that decision in order for you to take to have that kind of advantage.
George, I understand. As far as influence is concerned,
yes,
even in a traditional settings, you can still influence.
Yes, it's possible.
You can still, you have a case in front of the chief and you're bringing something to influence. So I'm leaving all the influence bit out. Let us assume there's no influence. It's still not right for me to come to your office and give you a gift.
Yeah. You remember the late prof, our late president. In fact, it's because of these things that he said no hampers during Easter, a Christmas time. But you see...
Because you couldn't determine which is which.
The interesting thing about it is that when you are even dealing with people, some of them are like that. Some of them will give you as and when you finish the product, or you finish the service. Others too will give you after you've done whatever needs to be done. Others too will wait till the end of the year. You understand? So in appreciation, that's what they give you. But like we are saying, if maybe two companies are bidding for a particular tender, or they've tendered in and they want to bid for that particular, and one wants to take advantage, there are ways and means. Either he will tell you, or he'll find a way of getting to you by way of giving you something to influence you with the understanding that, yes, one or two people on the board or on the committee will actually leak information to his benefit. So when it happens like that, obviously, yes, the person will actually leak the information. And to that effect, that act, we can say, is an act of corruption. Because at the end of the day, he is influencing you to take a decision which under normal circumstances you wouldn't have taken. And to the exclusion of others. But if others also get to hear of it and they are also interested, they will team up with you. And the thing is done.
It's getting exciting. When is it a gift? When is it to influence? When is it a bribe? When is it a tip? Stay tuned. We take a quick break and we ride back to continue this discussion. Welcome back. It's getting exciting. We're talking corruption, which is a tip, what is fraud, when is it right, when is the motive, who determines the motive. But before we go into it, Reggie Manuel Estate is saying that they have over 20 years of unbeatable record. And at Katamanso, they have 2 to 3 bedroom houses with expansion possibilities within gated communities with a superb infrastructure, 24/7 street lights and landscape areas and social amenities, including sports complex, educational facilities, shopping centers and health facilities. Experience the new phase of urban living at the Balloon Gate apartment, Kwabenya, where Reggie Manuel Gray has brought to bear their expertise and unparalleled in design 2-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms, a spacious living room, a fitted kitchen, and a balcony so you can stand and get fresh air. If you want more details about this, you can call them on 020 222-9916 or 020-222-9918. If you're calling them in the UK, it's 0208-5344-900. And for a guided tour, get your allocation and at the Regimanuel Estate. Again, Blue Rose Limited. Blue Rose Limited is a leading real estate developer in Africa with affordable housing, presents you shelter for all. With as low as 50,000 Ghana cedis, you can get a 2-bedroom house from Blue Rose Limited. We are located at the Budumbram, close to CAF University College. Blue Rose Limited, quality and affordable housing for all. You can call us on 020-202-9622 or 030-224159. Now, this is just my suggestion.
Yes.
Can we make it a law that all gifts are accepted, but you pay tax on it, so that I can come to you, Esther, and say, well, Esther, I was here yesterday and I gave you 10 cedis, because everybody in front of me in the queue gave you 10 cedis, so your 10 cedis is nothing. Then we can continue our traditional life into our office lives. However, you declare every 10 cedis or 100 cedis I give you and pay tax on it. Then you don't owe anybody any favor.
Maybe we can start by saying that declare all gifts.
Yeah.
Like the UK is doing, and it's affecting all their companies worldwide. You declare the gifts.
And pay tax.
You declare gifts, and then you have a certain ceiling. If it's maybe 10 Ghana cedis or 20 Ghana cedis, then maybe you pay something on it. So you have a limit. You say up to maybe 50 Ghana cedis is free, but then after 50 Ghana cedis, you pay tax on it. So that, and then you have to be transparent with your gifts. Disclose it to your boss. There are papers you sign when you are given a gift, so that everyone knows. It's not a secret. In that way, we will reduce corruption.
George, do you think it will work?
The tax law actually requires us to declare gifts for tax purposes.
But then the law does not allow us to accept gifts, or?
Not gift in the sense that you are influencing. You see, the gift from myself to my wife is not taxable. But a gift that is received by the individual is subject to tax. Now, the issue is declaring. At the end of every year, you are supposed to fill a form to the Revenue Authority, in fact, the GRA now, indicating your sources of income. And then, based on that, the tax is actually assessed. What we pay, as we call PAYE, pay as you earn, is a provisional assessment and provisional payment. At the end of the year, we aggregate all these payments, and then we know whether over the period, how much tax, having taken into account your reliefs, what is the net figure at the bottom line. So based on that, then definitely you will be asked to pay more, or the tax authorities will tell you that yes, you have paid in excess, so you have a credit balance, or your payment is equal to your tax liability, so it ends there. But the process has been very difficult, and that is why people do not file their returns. And I can assure you, people come, our brothers and sisters come from abroad. They know the timing for their filing of returns. He will take a plane, go out there and fill his form, just to make sure that his
tax returns.
Tax returns are actually filed. But here, we are all in the same house, so who cares? So those are the challenges we actually face as a nation.
We are talking about corruption, and in Ghana, as I'm coming to you, there's private sector and there's the government sector. Now, which of these areas, and both areas have their own corruption to deal with, which one do you think affects the country more?
I think both areas affect the country, but then the public sector, because of the gargantuan nature some of them take, it goes to affect development, economic development. And it also affects the way people work in the public sector. If there's a perceived corruption, let's say people know that even without working hard, you can get some favors. People will end up not working as hard as they should. because he knows that my boss can favor this person or my boss can favor me. I can pass something under the table and get away with it. And also when it comes to public sector corruption, why I'm saying affairs development, for instance, if a road has to be done and that road doesn't go through the proper channels, it's given to a relative, the quality is undermined. And what happens at the end of the day? Our infrastructure is affected. And that goes a long way to affect our future development.
George, we're trying to fight corruption. So, you know, there's Chirac, there's Yoko, there's SFO, there's all these institutions set up. Right. Even though I don't have any statistics here, year in, year out, it seems to go up rather than down. And we need to fund these institutions. So is it becoming a negative effect where we're actually spending money and not getting anything at all? And that we maybe would have been better off not having them and then just let the corruption run as it is, because it's going to run anyway.
That's interesting. In fact, we have to have them. But except that when you also want to look at the input vis-a-vis the output, that's where you will realize that we are putting in so much, but we are not getting that much. So efficiency is not really being achieved. If you talk of all these institutions, that's the SHRAJ, the PAC, that the Public Accounts Committee. I mean, these institutions are there to minimize, if not to eliminate, corruption. But at the end of the day, who is prosecuted? Until we are able to prosecute one or two people, we will continue to do. You see, and the system that I also see is that we are all related. Today, somebody is caught in the web, another relative goes to tell you that that person you are going to prosecute is your uncle. Then it becomes a problem. So definitely, in fact, unfortunately, we haven't been able to move forward with our institutions. So that's why initially you say, hey, I mean, there's so much noise in the initial stages. Halfway through, everything goes down under the table. And that is where the challenge is. I believe personally that if we are able to prosecute one person or a group of people, for example, this PAC, that's Public Accounts Committee that that did this Ghana Education Service schools. How many people have we had headmistresses or headmasters who have been actually prosecuted? None. But if you're able to at least touch one of them, not necessarily even, but causing them to refund the amount of money involved, I believe the others will actually understand that, look, the system is actually working. You can only do this when the supervisors themselves are actually men of integrity. But if they are also part of it, halfway through they will shelve it. So we are all part of the system, and we are behaving as if it is okay, but it's not okay.
Esther, we always blame somebody. Everybody thinks it's the one that's he's the one that's corrupt, not me. It's the police, it's the teacher, it's the government, it's the private sector. So in theory, we are all to blame. Is there hope, or should we just accept it and just let it go?
No, I don't think we should accept it. When he was talking about the institutions. Yes, they've made, like Chirac, they've made very few prosecutions. But I think that the institutions should still be there. If it's not there at all, then people will just accept it. I mean, there's corruption is a normal, and people who wouldn't have practiced it will also join in it.
But have we not accepted it?
No, I think that we talk about it, but people, it's not everyone who has accepted. Maybe some people have accepted it, but not everyone has accepted. I haven't accepted it. And I know a lot of accountants, chartered accountants haven't accepted it. You know, it's there, it's a canker, everyone talks about it, but then I don't think that everyone has accepted it. So the institutions should be there. What should be done is that the institutions should be resourced. The institutions should be strengthened to do their works. And there should be more awareness, public awareness. For instance, we have a whistleblower law, which was passed in 2006. I'm sure a lot of people don't know about it. And this law is...
But a couple of whistleblowers go into trouble.
That's it.
You know, so it didn't encourage the fact everybody who had a whistle would throw it away.
Yeah, that is where there should be a willpower from everyone, the top, the government, those in high authority, to kill this corruption. And they should have the willpower to report these cases and to go through the law and have people people prosecuted.
Let me even add to what you just said. Recently, I will mention any institution, a board sacked a managing director, a chief executive of an institution, because a member of the organization has complained that this is what the guy is doing. The guy was challenging, and he was still at post. It took the office of the president to say, yes, please go step aside. So when we start seeing these things, then it gives us a very good signal that this is where we are heading to, and this is what the hope is for us. Other than that, the person will still be there. He will try to get people higher than, and then he will entrench himself there. But when higher authority are able to say that no, it's enough, step aside, let's go through. If you are okay, if you are found okay, then come back, and then whatever is entitled to you will be given to you. Other than that, you are prosecuted, and the law takes its course.
Esther, I think sometimes, and I've argued that when we are able to eliminate corruption, maybe some people will also be automatically eliminated. Here is a security guy who earns 140 cedis a month. He has a wife and 2 children and needs 300 cedis just to feed and transport himself to work and take his kids to school and back on a monthly basis, 300 cedis. The days that he has to pay school fees, I think he needs about 475 cedis, that's including school fees. But he earns 140 cedis. If he doesn't let you park somewhere, well, it's not going to kill anybody, obstruct somebody for 5 minutes, waste somebody's time, you give him 10 cedis, 5 cedis, he's going to die. If we eliminate corruption completely, that man is going to die. So sometimes our system, do not even give people the option to be honest.
So, what should be done to eliminate or reduce
But you are
corruption?
the accountants, you guys have the money.
Because the issue is that security guard is being underpaid. So one of the things that have to be done is to pay people better. Okay, even in the public service, and to pay people better so that those acts of corruption will be minimized.
However, George, those who do the bigger corruption are those who have the bigger pay.
So that
is where the challenge is. That is greed,
and
in the sense that
materialism.
Yeah.
Because
you have everything. Your fuel is being picked. You have a car to yourself. Your telephone bills are, and yet, sometimes society also contributes to that. Oh, he's a big man. So to that extent, we are expecting him to do so much. So he comes either in the community or in the church or anywhere he finds himself. The moment he comes, everybody wants to give him way because, and a typical example is if a big man comes over and maybe the security man, he gives him 1 cedi. But this big man, look at, he's expecting something more than 1 cedi. And that is where the challenge is. So he has to give 10 cedis. Oh, chief. Then you see him saluting and running around him and things like that. And it also happens in the same society that we live. We see them, we work with them, we talk with them, we know. But unfortunately, we don't do anything about it. So society has a responsibility towards the individual. The home has a responsibility, the schools, every aspect of our life. Until we continue to hammer it down, we wouldn't. Because people will come, contribution, harvest and things, they will bring, nobody asks any question. It's okay with us. There's a project going on, one single person will go and do all, and nobody asks questions. And I know if we even go outside Ghana, there are certain instances where people have brought in funds for the purpose of a particular issue. They said, no, we don't need your money because we know the source from which it's coming from. Keep it to yourself. We'll go by our own sources of funding. So if we start doing these kind of things, at least people, when we're growing, we knew people who were people who were rich, but then they were rich just because of dint of hard work. But these days, anything goes.
Get rich quick. Esther, there's an up-and-coming African Congress of Accountants. First of all, I need to know how many countries are involved, and I want to know if all accountants are going to gang up together and say that, we're going to add morals to the figures, and that every check that we sign, We need to see what is going to buy. We need to know what is going to buy. Otherwise, we are not giving out any more money to you guys. I don't know what the theme is, but this is just my take. I mean, how many countries are involved in this?
We have 37 countries.
Whoa, that's big.
Yeah,
That's
all
big.
over Africa, actually. The entire Africa and its islands.
And the conference is being held in
Ghana.
We're hosting
Accra.
it.
Yes.
We're hosting
Accra,
it.
we are actually hosting it.
Okay.
This is the first time we are hosting the conference.
And the second
is the
Agua
second
meeting.
of.
Okay. So what is it about? Because, I mean, you guys will be very boring. All you're going to talk about is figures.
Oh, no, we don't.
In fact, we are not going to talk about figures per se. We are also going to look at the way forward for for Africa and how the individual, or for that matter, each of the institutions in each country can actually contribute towards the development, economic growth and development of Africa. Because over the years, it's always been like that. The accountant is always at the backstage and everything is done and is brought to him. But this time we also want to make an impact, a meaningful impact as far as the economic development of the country is concerned. For some of us, it is really inspiring for us to see our own coming up. For example, currently our Minister of Finance is an ICA guy, a Minister of Chartered Accountant. So we are proud that, yes, at least we have a member there. And I know, and then Mr. The head of the PAC, that's the Public Accounts Committee, I forgot the name. Mr. Kendapa is also a chartered accountant. I mean, these are issues. So you realize that over the years, but it takes a very strong heart to leave the backstage to come to the forefront. So that is the challenge. And we are encouraging as many accountants as possible to make it a part of their challenges.
I mean, the nature of your job is such that you automatically back row, because you seem to be in the back and watch what's going on, how I disperse the money. If you come to the front, who's going to watch the back?
There are so many accountants.
He's talking of if the accountants all move forward.
If you play
we are not going to play the 4-row per se entirely. At least you also have at the back of your mind that yes, you are there at the same time looking at, I mean, it's just like driving a car. You drive, the windscreen is there, but you have the driving mirror. Once in a while you look through and see what is coming.
What's the theme for this year?
The theme is economic growth and development of the Forum for African Development.
And
so
it's
that's what's
open to all accountants, or you have to be member of
yes, it's open to only accountants.
Do you have to be a member, or so far as you're a certified accountant?
No, I mean, anyone at all can actually participate, because it's a forum for all accountants and aspiring accountants. And if you're also outside the profession, not necessarily the Institute of Chartered Accountants, maybe you belong to ICMA, ACCA, and others. How
long has it been running in Africa?
Africa, I think this is the second.
Oh, this is the second.
Yeah.
And
the first one was held in South Africa.
Okay.
This is the second, and Ghana was given the opportunity to hold the second.
Any particular reason why Ghana got it? Because I mean, I find
won the bid.
Ghana has always been the
beacon of Africa, the gateway.
It looks like South Africa is also coming, but then we are still there.
Oh, I see. Yes. So now all your friends from South Africa will fly.
Our friends from Nigeria are
coming in their numbers.
I mean, all over Africa. And then we also have people coming outside Africa. Malaysia, Europe, America.
What's that one thing that accountants will do to help Africa? What's the one prime thing that you can do to help your country?
Yeah.
Let's say Ghana. Yeah. The Ghanaian accountant. What's that one thing that they will do to make a difference in Ghana?
Yeah, our motto is integrity. We don't have too much of it. Integrity. Let's sustain that word. And everything that we do, let integrity be the core, the hallmark of our profession.
So that's a challenge.
It's a big one. In all that we
You couldn't choose a simpler word. Integrity and modesty, we have erased it all.
This corruption we are talking about, if people had integrity, they wouldn't be corrupt. Yes. And if in every institution we have an accountant, so if the accountant is also doing his work well, ensuring that the controls are in place and making sure that all the procedures are being kept, then we'll minimize corruption.
Integrity.
Yeah.
You've got me thinking now.
That's right.
You've got me thinking, because it will solve a lot of problems. It will solve a lot of problems.
That is it.
And how many? Is it like a 2-day conference, 1 week conference?
Yes, 2 days.
2 days.
3 days actually, from the 14th to the 16th of May. That's this May. And
just next week.
Yeah, just next week. And we are expecting members to start coming on the 4th, and then by the 16th we are through with the program.
Well, that's brilliant. And how about accounting students? I mean, people who are studying to become accountant, are they able to come and get a feel of what the atmosphere will be like, or it's only for people who are now certified?
I think there's an open forum for them as well. So yes, they may have the opportunity, but strictly it's for those who are registered and who are supposed to be in there for the basic topics that are, because we're going to have sessions, and then the preliminary assembly also will take that aspect of its own presentation as well.
Esther, you see, I never good with figures, so anytime you talk accounting, I get paranoid. But George is telling me accounting is not only figures.
Yes.
So what else would you do if you don't do figures?
What else will you do? Now we have accountants who are chief executive officers.
No. I mean, within the accounting, if I was an accountant, I'm expecting that I'm constantly adding 10 CDs and 2 CDs and 10 CDs, and he borrows one money and he borrowed this money.
Debit and credit.
You are part of the management committee.
Okay.
Most of the accountants are part of the management committee, and they contribute to the organization's goals and objectives. We have they have meetings, and you contribute to what is going on in the organization. So it's not just figures. Yes, there's more in the accountant's head than just figures.
Let me quickly chip in. The organizations will also want to draw their strategic plans, and then the accountant has a key role to play in there, because at the end of the day, we will come back to figures again.
Thank you very much. For all of you guys who are scared of going into accounting, like me, maybe you shouldn't. But the main thing is integrity. And I think if the whole nation had integrity, maybe, I'm sure not even maybe, but definitely, corruption will be reduced. Of course, you cannot eliminate it, but with integrity, we shall definitely reduce it. Thank you very much, and thank you for welcoming me onto your screens. I'm sure Steve will be with you soon, but until then, I'll be always here with you from 9 to 10 p.m., Monday through Friday, with another version of PM Express. Thank you, and stay tuned.